All right, this recording is to look at how to put a graph in Excel, including trend lines, titles, and error bars, custom error bars. It's based off Physics Prac 10.1, but the same process can be used for almost any set of data. So here's our sample set of data ready to go. We got time versus displacement. In this case here, basically the Prac tells us we want time on the x-axis, displacement on the y-axis, so that's what we're going to do. First thing to do when you're making graph is you just click off the side, some empty cell, insert, and for physics we are always going to use a scatter plot. So we're going to go insert, then over here at the top, basically you've got all your different graph types. We're going to choose scatter plot, and the very first one without any lines, just going to be a blank slate though, which is fine because we're going to kind of tell it what data we want. Up at the top, when we click on this, our top bar will change to chart design. If it doesn't, you can click on chart design or chart format, depending on what you're trying to do. Chart design is where we're going to be at this point. While that's all selected, we're going to select data. And from select data, it's asking for a chart range. Okay, we can do the chart range straight away, or we can actually just kind of create entries this way by doing a selecting series. So we're going to there's series 1. We're going to call this series time, I suppose we can call it. That's fine. Then it wants us to get the y and the x values. So our x values is going to be time. So we're going to kind of click on this, find our average time. We only ever plot averages. We don't plot anything else. So and then what I did is basically I clicked on the top one, held my mouse, dragged it down to the bottom one, and I should see something that looks like this in here that essentially goes from E4 to E8. So there's E4 up to E8. You can hit enter or click the arrow to the side. It's now put in there. We do the same thing for our y value. So y is displacement. Click y, drag it down there, hit enter, and there it is ready to go. It is my chart. It also asks us for chart labels. It should let us do this, but sometimes if you are doing bar graphs, you may need to kind of select some labels for your axes there. We're going to click on that, and we should now see our data in there. And it's actually, because we called it time as our title, it automatically puts time as the title. We can change that later, easy enough. A few things we need to add to this. So while clicking on this, over in the far side, it's add chart elements. We're going to add a few things. So we've already got the axes on, but we need our axes titles for primary horizontal and primary vertical. So that turns them both on. We're also our chart titles are already on, so that's fine. We don't need data labels. We will need an error bars, which we'll do shortly, but let's get the trend line to start with. So we're just going to pick any sort of trend line, and we can change it down the track. Okay. So our chart title, in this case here, it's basically displacement versus time, or whatever else you want to call it. We know this axis here is our displacement, and that's in meters, because that's our unit. So we're going to put displacement in meters, and that means down here is time, and in seconds. So there's our time in seconds. The Prac tells us we don't want a linear trend line on this one. We need a power trend line. So with the trend line selected now, I've got it turned on. I'm just going to select it. I'm going to double click on it, and that pulls up my menu off to the side. And I'm just going to now select power as my trend line, because that's the one that's requested. In here, while I'm still in here, if you do want to project your trend line forwards or backwards, you can. So if I click at 5 or even probably not 5, I'll do it 1 and 1. All right, you can see that there it is. Yep. So there's my last data point, but it's projected it forward. There's my last data point, it's projected it backwards. So for this Prac, we're not going to project it at all, so we're just going to leave them both at 0, and that fixes my trend line. But I'm also going to display equation and display r squared. So I'm going to turn those two on while I'm in there still. Okay. While I'm here, we actually have this big massive white space because our time doesn't start until basically our smallest time is 0.27 seconds. So I'm just going to click on that, and you notice that our this box changes based off what I'm clicking on. This last area there is kind of my edits, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my axes options. So right now it goes from 0 seconds to 0.7. I'm going to actually get it to start at 0.2 seconds, and that's going to just modify my graph slightly, just so that my data fits in the graph beautifully. Okay. So that's kind of how we're setting all that to start with. Last thing we're going to do is turn on our error bars. Sorry, there's some stuff in the background, so hopefully that doesn't ruin the audio too badly, but we're going to turn on our error bars. So again, while our graph is selected, going to go over here and just go to error bars and just pick standard error for now. That's fine. We're going to fix these up as well. So again, if your sidebar isn't open, you can double click on any of these. It'll open it up. Okay. And we've got two different sets. We've got our vertical and our horizontal. And you can see it changes there, vertical, horizontal. For this prac, it wants horizontal error bars and no vertical. So with our vertical error bars selected, I'm going to change my fixed value to 0, and that will essentially make them disappear. And then as soon as I select off them, they're gone. My horizontal ones are going to be based off my absolute value, which I've calculated here. And so that means they're going to be a custom, and we're going to specify value. And notice it says positive and negative. So our absolute values are positive and negative. So we're going to do the same thing for both. Positive, we're going to click on the top one, drag it down. There it is. We're going to click that again, and we're going to do the same thing a second time because we want it to go both up and, or sorry, I guess left and right in this case, or up and down the same amount. So it should have the exact same thing in there. You can copy and paste from one to the other if that makes it easier. Click OK, and there is our standard error, so our custom error bars based off of our calculated absolute error. That is our graph done and dusted. At this point, if you are putting it into a Word document, do not take screenshots. And I repeat again, do not take screenshots. Copy and paste. So for your table, kind of click on the top left corner, bottom right corner, drag it across so everything's highlighted. You can right click and copy, or Command C, and then open up your Word document and paste, or Command V. Okay, and then do the same thing for your graph. With your graph, select the whole thing, you can right click on it, or two-finger click, I suppose, max, copy, or Command C, and then open up your Word document where you need it, and then paste Command V. That is graphing on Excel. Hope that helps. Thank you.